I 43 bingo, bingo, bingo. And my prize, Larry.
What's up, everybody? How we doing?
Yeah.
Glad to be on here. Yes, a lot of you might just know me as the Bingo Bango guy or the Family Feud guy.
Yep.
I do like movies. I'm an old movie buff, so the chance to talk movies with some youngsters, you crazy kids, is a really fun time. So thank you for asking me.
Thank you for
really
bringing
glad
us
to be
in.
on here.
Oh, we love to have a local legend on. I mean, come on.
Yeah. So right here in front of me, I got a list of Larry's top 10 movies, and I gotta say, I'm familiar with a lot of these. Some of these, though, I have not seen. Like this first movie, Last of the
Last of the Mohicans.
Last of the Mohicans.
Give us a little description.
Last Mohicans, directed by Michael Mann, who also directed Heat,
really?
among other things. Great director. Great. I mean, his whole filmography is great. Last Mohicans is based on a book written James Cooper. I can't remember his middle name. Set in upstate New York. This is pre-revolutionary time, and it's just about that time, the war, and it's just the most beautifully shot movie. Daniel Day-Lewis is doing his Daniel Day-Lewis things, and that he's 100% committed to the part. And it's just a fabulous movie, and the score is just. And I'm not somebody who really gets into those aspects of film. This one is like the main character, and it's just a beautifully shot movie. It puts you in the feeling of being in upstate New York back when there's probably 500 white settlers and the Iroquois Indians living there, and all the problems that were associated with it. So I have rewatched that movie, I would say 100 times. It's not an exaggeration. So that is my entrenched in number one movie.
Wow.
Now, what's your number one movie?
Me? I'm a Whiplash guy. I don't know if you've ever seen Whiplash.
Yes.
I love Whiplash. Whiplash is one of my favorite.
So you like pain?
I love it. J.K. Simmons in that movie, that is one of his best performance ever. I think the scene at the end, have you both seen Whiplash
I've
before?
seen it.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
I thought that was amazing. I also think a lot of people don't really get it because they watch that movie and they're like, yeah, like we just need to work harder. And I'm like, bro, those two people were like horrible. Like they're both evil.
Okay, so it's not an endorsement. Okay.
No.
I was going to accuse you of being a bad father someday. Okay.
No.
Okay.
I was like,
take it back.
Both of these characters suck. Neiman never gets his girlfriend ever. He actually is such a dick to her and then tries to go back and she doesn't want him because he's a piece of shit. And then J.K. Simmons' character, he is such an intolerable piece of shit that he almost goes to jail for it. But I do think it's awesome at the end that they both are so awful that it works out. And at the end when it is only the top half and you can see him mouth "good job," and then it runs out. Oh my god. Fucking me. Another movie
I thought they kind of sold out at the end there.
Really?
Yeah, they wanted that happy-ish ending, when the true ending should have just been, okay, he achieved what he wants to, but he's going to be a fucking miserable kid for the rest of his life, just like his teacher. That's the cynic in me. I don't know.
I gotta say, I fucking loved it. I think it.
Now, what do you think of J.K. Simmons now doing fucking farmers commercials?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, obviously.
He's doing a lot of voice work.
Cash that check. So, cash that check. I'm not going to hold it against him.
Dude's the red M&M. I mean, come on.
He is?
Yes, he is. J.K. Simmons is the red M&M. But yeah, he's red. He's red. Yeah.
Okay, now what's your favorite movie?
9.
9?
9.
I don't even know what the hell that is.
It's a not low budget, but it's not really well known animated movie about these 9 little dolls.
Okay.
That it's just a movie from my childhood that I'm a big fan of. It's just about end of the world, civilization, AI, stupid.
Oh, like the dystopian.
Yeah, stuff like that. It's a cool plot though. If you're ever in the mood for that, big. It's got a weird cast too. It's got Elijah Wood. It's got John C. Reilly in it. Some big names, but how do you know about it?
Yeah, the one thing I will admit to being is last decade or so, the transition to TV.
Oh yeah.
Peak TV, prestige TV, and all that. If you want good stories and you want prestige, TV is there, and the theater experience has been more taken over by Marvel, obviously, the big one and all that.
Yeah.
So I do miss that. So I have to admit, I do have in the last decade or so, you could bring up a lot of movies that I'd be like, oh shit, I haven't seen it and all that. So
I have a good question for you.
Yes.
All right. So obviously we're a lot younger, and not much though.
I'm in my 50s, by the way. I'm not hiding from it. I'm an old man. Yep. Get off my lawn, kids.
Have you noticed at all, as movies as you've gotten older, have you noticed, maybe these movies aren't made for me anymore? Because something that I feel is different is I hear a lot of people say that, and I kind of disagree. Because I can go back and watch movies from the 70s, 80s, 90s. I wasn't alive. I still love the movies.
Yes. I do think this idea that superhero movies they're catered more towards adults, and I'm like, I don't feel a part of that.
Yeah.
And so superhero movies resided where they should, which I'm not saying adults couldn't enjoy them, but they're still their primary audience is teens and such. I think that's where they fit. But obviously, they go where the money is, and superhero movies are made across for all ages, and I just feel left out about that. So the whole superhero thing, I do feel left out, but I don't have hostility or resentment for it. And that's the one thing you got to remember as you get older and your tastes change. Is like the question you asked. Don't be resentful if you feel you're not the target audience over a particular medium and all that. Just be like, okay, go have fun with it, because there's so much media out there, so many movies or TVs that there is your spot for you, and at the same time, try to bounce around still. And I do try to make the effort to bounce around. I have seen enough of the Avengers movies and all. It's not like I hate them, but I just recognize they're not for me. They're not going to hit my sweet spot.
Yeah.
So yeah, I do think that where TV, on the other hand, the prestige TV series, that does more cater to the adult, the old man and all that. So I do find there are more shows there that I connect with at a level than I do movies anymore, which is unfortunate because the movie theater experience is still second to none. If there's a movie I want to see, I make sure I see it in a theater. And being in Binghamton, that's not always the easiest thing anymore, because a lot of movies go straight to streaming except for certain small markets. And I will try to make an effort, not always successful, to see a movie I want to see on the theater.
So you must have loved when Interstellar came back in the theater.
Yes, I did.
You go back and see it?
That's number two.
Number two on
back,
two. If I saw see the list. This is it right here.
Interstellar is a movie that a lot of people say has bad parts, and they're right. Logically, it falls apart in different spots. That's the brilliance of it, in that he tried to hit a grand slam with the ideas and all that. And so he just put it all out there.
Yeah.
And it's so beautifully shot and it's so ambitious that even when he misses, it works.
Yeah.
And obviously I'm no physicist, so I can't debate this, that, or the other. But just the overall scope of the thing of what does faith mean? What does science mean? And the argument, maybe they're the same thing, and there are no absolutes. And part of having faith, not in the religious sense, but just in the broad sense, is just the emotional aspect could be right. And it's just so well shot. And seeing it on IMAX, I really hope they do that again. I saw it originally on IMAX, 10 years?
2014.
14, yep.
So
and then
years ago.
I saw it when you guys went on break last year. I went during winter break and saw it one more time up at the IMAX. And it was just profound. That is the most profoundly moving experience, watching that movie on IMAX, of any movie experience.
Do you think that one moved you the most?
In terms of the visual, yes, absolutely. And again, I'm more storytelling driven, and it's weird in that Last of the Mohicans, I love the score, the music, and all that. Interstellar, the scope of it,
it's gorgeous.
Yes, it's absolutely beautiful. So yes, I mean, and those are both examples of trying to see those great movies in the theater. I mean, because both of them, they transport you when you're at the theater.
Well, now that we're here talking about entertainment, though, I would be ashamed of myself and Austin if I didn't mention a very famous tweet of yours. So this is a movie podcast, but you know, we got our special friend here. We got to talk about some other things here. You know, you're a very famous guy here in Binghamton, and people want to know more about you. And what way to crack the ice on that than a few years ago or some time ago, you posted a tweet.
Blue's Clues.
The Blue's Clues
guys, yes.
And they'll throw a picture up somewhere here, wherever it is. But
yep, it was. I was downtown Vegas gambling. Had a few drinks in me. Have a good time. All alone. So I go up play a craps game. Now craps, I don't know if you're not familiar with rolling the dice and all that. It's probably the most cutthroat game because everybody's gambling, and they're relying on whoever the shooter's rolls are. So you both love that person when they're hitting for you. When you miss, you want to freaking murder them.
Yeah.
Okay? So I go up there, and I'm wearing just a casual rugby shirt, and I go up there, and my first roll, I crap out. And this old guy across the thing, he's like, "Nice roll, Blue's Clues." It was without a doubt the most cutting, hurtful, awesome cut-downs I've ever had. So I just wandered away and go grab a drink at the bar. And I just casually tweeted it out, not expecting much out of it. And the next day I woke up, my phone was like melted. I've never had something go viral to that level where I couldn't open up the Twitter app because it was just constantly tens of thousands of views every second, melting down. And then it gravitated over to Instagram somehow. So there's a whole second wave of it a month and a half later. And that's when you guys, most of you guys aren't on Twitter. So when it gravitated to Instagram, it took a whole nother level of all that. So yeah, that was both the most awesome put down, hurtful put down ever. And I'll own it. And I still wear that blue sweater.
Yeah. You still got it?
So yeah, I'll tell you.
And you look damn good at it too.
I should have worn it right, actually. Absolutely. I look like Steve 20 years later, who's kind of, filled out a little bit and all that. But it's weird, the picture, I actually do look like really all sad. No, I was just tired. I've been gambling for 12 hours. So that's my Las Vegas story on how my Twitter blew up. So
I love that photo. It's so funny.
That is my online legacy.
12 hours at the table, it'll do it to you. You know what I mean?
So you own Tom's here in Binghamton.
Yes.
Yeah, in case you didn't know that. Yeah. But so what's that like though, to own one of the most like famous bars here, if not
well,
the
it's
most famous?
My brother and I. We've owned it for 20 years, and right when we bought it, our first objective was to turn it into a college bar. Tom and Marty's was not at all a college bar. Back in the old days, it was just the Rat was the only college bar, and then a few others opened up. So when we took it over, I'm like, this is the only demographic I get along with, or not get along with, relate to. And I was already in my 30s. Right. So when I say relate to it, I'm not like, hey guys, let's go party and all that. It's more just the mindset of the college student I enjoy being around.
Yeah.
And so we're like, this is what we're going to target. And that's what we've been doing for 20 years. And as I've aged from 30s to 40s to 50s, I still think I get along and relate well with the college student, even though I am the old man. So I enjoy it. There's no other market or demographic I could succeed in. I really couldn't. Like people my age, I couldn't deal with.
That's right. Yeah.
Your parents are individually. Your mom and dad are wonderful people. You get 10 of them together, they're pain in the asses. Okay, I want college students. And it's interesting though because you guys every year you get smarter. You guys are really really smart, but your capacity for incredible stupidity is incredibly high. Okay, you're capable of it. So that's part of what my job is: to provide a fun place for you to act like an idiot and keep an eye on you from your dumbest selves. That's the culture we have. Very laid back place, very fun place. We don't cater to a specific group. We don't have an aggressive culture. Instead, it's just a laid back place where you get very smart people can act like idiots for a few hours in a safe environment. And that's what's awesome.
It's all about the culture.
And I'm pretty much the flaky guy. But at the same time, I'm always keeping an eye out for those situations that are both bad for me and bad for you. And that's really what a good college bar is.
Yeah, man. I mean, I love the presence. I love how much you care. I mean, I can feel that, obviously.
I really respect it.
No. Like I said, college students, I like how smart you are, and I also like how dumb you are. And that's exactly what I like about
it. Have we gotten dumber?
Yeah.
Have we gotten dumber with time?
Yes and no. You've also gotten very smart. Today's college student, this is a broad generalization.
Yeah.
So let's not sit there. They are more capable, more worldly than they were 26. I've been in this for 30 years. Yes.
Right.
But at the same time, you live more in bubbles now. Both culturally, the monoculture is gone, and everybody has their own little niche and all that. And then I think there is a little bit less awareness of how the big world works, which is just, I think, you'll get there. So where you used to get there when you're 19, 20, I think now you get there when you're 22, 23. And I'm not saying you're sheltered. That's like a condescending way. I'm just saying you're comfortable in your environment, you thrive in it, and you're not exposed to more for a little bit. Okay. So that's not stupider. It's just a little bit of a change. But at the same time, you guys are way more competent than the morons from when I was your age. Okay, we were just dumb as a box of rocks. So you are smarter, but you're also, like I said, I don't think I don't know. And again, I'm generalizing, so there's exceptions everywhere. So yeah, I just think you're still a little bit more in your bubble that used to emerge a little bit younger, and now you're maybe a couple years behind. Wow. But again, I'm not a sociologist, so this is just my exposure with the bar. You fucking morons!
So how'd you come to become the owner, you and your brother, of Tom and Marty's?
Well, I went to BU. I'm sitting here in the student union. I enjoyed the campus pub when I went to BU much more than I enjoyed going to class.
Which doesn't exist anymore.
No,
that's true.
which is a good thing. I wish it didn't exist. I might have actually graduated from BU. Had it not existed. And I started bartending. And I just found I enjoyed the job, but I also enjoyed the thinking behind it, the promoting it, and I was engaged with that. So after so many years of pretending to be a student, or actually being a student, but just not doing well, I was able to take over a downtown bar that doesn't even exist and turn it into a BU bar. So I'm 24 years old. I'm running a bar, and I'm both doing a good job, but 24-year-old being put in charge of college bar is a poor idea. You just lack the common sense and wisdom and experience.
Yeah.
So it's both good and bad. So I would get burnt out, and I'd quit, and I go wander around the country and take jobs in Tahoe or in Cape Cod, have a good time. Then I come back and run it. And I did that literally for a decade. And everything I owned, I fit into my Honda Accord. Okay, and then I come back to Binghamton, I'd run the place for a year, then I quit again, I'd be like, no more, I'm getting out of it. Then finally, the fourth time, I went to my brother, who's my partner. He's the bald guy who's doing the door, if you ever go there on a weekend. He's like, you know what, let's actually do this for a career instead of screwing around anymore. So that was 20 years ago. I was like, okay, let's buy a bar. And complicated thing to buy a bar when you have no money, but we figured out a way. And so that's why we took over Tom's, which was the doctors, the lawyers, the establishment bar.
Yeah.
And boy, did we run away from that quick. I was like, I want to be a college bar. I want to be a college bar. And we did it. And like I said, and it's, if you work for me or if you're a regular, culture. That's what I sell. Alcohol is how I generate revenue. But the reason why you want to come to my bar is my culture. And every bar can have a different culture. So I'm not saying Tom's is the only culture. Laid back. Not exclusive. I hate when you walk into a bar and you feel like, I'm not welcome here.
Like
I'm not a regular country bar, but there are different ways where you just don't feel welcome. We like to say we're the unaffiliated. Like if you're not in a frat or you're not on a team and all that, you still can walk into the bar and you're perfectly at home with with the crowd. And my staff reflects that. My bouncers are friendly guys. At least I hope. If they aren't, let me know.
At least I hope.
I think they're great.
But, and that's what we're selling. First and foremost is culture. So my Family Feud, my trivia, my bingo, that's an extension of the culture. Music, extension of the culture. And that's what you're hearing. Yes, I do want you spending money on alcohol because I am in the revenue business too. But, why do you want to go to Tom's instead of sitting on your couch and drink a 40 of something? I got to give you a good reason for it. And again, all the bells and whistles just goes down to culture. And Tom's culture, I do think it's distinct in that it's goofy, stupid. It's a chance for very smart people to act like idiots in a safe environment. So that's what Tom's is.
I gotta say, I really feel that when I'm at Tom's personally, the music is always great. You're always on the microphone saying like, "Bingo, bango, we got this guy over here."
Bingo,
or
bango.
I do give people PTSD my voice.
That's true.
If you work for me, you want to get away from my voice for a few years.
You got the game show special on you.
I gotta say though, it's always a very, very fun time. But let's circle a little bit back to movies though. I gotta say, True Romance. True Romance is a movie that I'm a big fan of, and I was not expecting to see that. And seeing that, tell me what you think of True Romance.
Well, True Romance, it actually was written by Quentin Tarantino.
Really?
And
I didn't know that.
Yep, he was the screenwriter, didn't direct it. And obviously Pulp Fiction was without a doubt one of the more transformational movies in the history of cinema. It just changed the dialogue, changed the attitude. And coming from that, there were a million different imitations, some of them very good, a lot of them absolutely horrible. True Romance being a Quentin Tarantino script was part of that, and it's just a brilliantly written movie. The dialogue, the characters, and that was, I like early Tarantino, Reservoir Dogs, Pulp Fiction. True Romance isn't necessarily, and he had his Gonzo stuff, which I'm not saying is bad. It never appealed to me like Inglourious Bastards.
You're not Inglourious
I don't hate it, or Hateful Eight, or Django. I'm not saying they're bad. They're more like the comic book spectacle, craziness, and all that. And also on the list there, or maybe it did make the list, his most recent movie, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, was just incredible. That's like, okay, he's old, I'm old. Quentin Tarantino's now speaking my language in that it was just about the mood. Like, I can't really quote you a scene or a person from that movie that was so distinct. I mean, there's obviously the memes and all that. And the ending is almost immaterial to me. I wish it didn't even have the revisiting the Sharon Tate murder where it didn't have, even though it was funny. It was just I love a movie that just puts you in the mood of the time and the place.
Yeah.
And that was so powerful Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yeah, I noticed a lot of Tarantino movies when I was going through this
Yeah.
list. Tarantino's probably one of my favorite directors.
Yes. And again, a lot of people loved his middle period. Jackie Brown, another movie. If you haven't seen it. Awesome movie about setting the scene, the mood, the vibe. You want me to tell you like specific plot points? They're almost too vague to even get into.
Yeah.
But just in terms of the different characters and the dialogue, Samuel Jackson, obviously, but Robert Forster, he's the grumpy old bail bondsman.
He's the king of good characters.
Yeah, so it's just great. And True Romance, even though it's not a Tarantino directed movie, is the same thing. I mean, there's just some crazy goddamn scenes in there that just stick with you for a long time. Yes.
Yeah. I was talking a little about it before. I'm Sicilian, and that Sicilian monologue.
Yes.
I think it's so funny.
Yes.
One of my favorites.
And again, one of the things when you watch older movies is the accepted norms. Like, it's not explicitly racist.
No.
But at the same time, it's not necessary that word in there.
Yeah. It's like Pulp Fiction.
Yes. Some of the choices might be necessary to necessitate the word. Sometimes it seems like a little bit. You just got to remember, when you watch movies of a different era, just understand that's how it was. And I'm not saying that's not an endorsement or condemnation. So there is that aspect of it. But that said, the whole scene overall is just absolutely brilliant. Turning up the table.
So good.
Yes.
I love
Dennis Hopper, who I generally don't like, was just incredible in his delivery there. And Christopher Walken, obviously.
Christopher Walken.
Yes.
Yeah, Christopher Walken. Yeah, awesome.
I also see you got Sylvester Stallone movies on here. You a fan of Rocky and all those?
I'm a 90s kid. Or 80s kid. Excuse me, 80s kid. Okay. So, yeah, the Arnie, Sylvester Stallone, big movies. As a 13, 14-year-old, I love them.
Yeah.
I can still revisit them more ironically now. But I still enjoy them for the cheesiness they are. And also the John Hughes thing. Now, my age, it was more Breakfast Club. But he also had St. Elmo's Fire, which I was probably a little young to appreciate and all that. And then 16 Candles and all that other stuff. That was also part of it. And talk about movies that sometimes haven't aged well. There are a lot of aspects of both of those ones that haven't aged well. But I also defend them. I mean, that was like the big tentpole, big budget movies, those action movies. And then the comedies of the 80s were dictated by those two. So I like them. I don't think any of you guys in your 20s revisiting them will like them. But they do set up the culture of it. Now, I should have, like, if I'm going to say the truly great 80s movies, Beverly Hills Cop. Incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible. 48 Hours, which again is problematic, but actually it's part of the movie, so it works. So there are some great movies too, but I'm talking about like the cheesy, shitty Arnold Schwarzenegger movies. I'll really admit I was fully invested in them as a kid, and I don't dislike them now. I would not sit down and watch Commando, Arnold Schwarzenegger.
But going back, it's a different perspective.
Yes, yeah, and that was like that's what cinema was for a teenager, early 20s in the 80s. Most of my movies that I think are truly great are more 90s because that's like the formative years of my 20s. When I like to think I acquired a little bit of taste, but before I became the old, and it's the one thing getting older you got to be careful of is you reach a saturation point on new content, and you're resistant to it.
Yeah,
I've seen enough content. I know what I like, and you got to try to make the effort to keep finding new content out there because you don't want to be too set in your ways where you're watching the same shit all the time. And being a middle-aged 50s white guy, I don't want to just be watching Yellowstone and 1923 and that's not hating it. I actually watched the first season of Yellowstone and it was not horrible.
Yeah.
So I'm not condemning any particular, but it's really easy to pigeonhole you as yourself as you get older into just liking a specific kind of content that only appeals to me. And you really, to enjoy the world properly, you got to actually make the effort. Where you guys, I would like to think, are more open-minded into, hey, let's try this and all that. It gets harder. It really does.
Yeah, and that's something I was really surprised about looking at your list. There's a lot, like, for example, Interstellar, Fargo, both new movies, are like relatively new.
Fargo's incredible.
And Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I was really surprised seeing that, especially because a lot of people have really mixed feelings about it. But I was in the crowd.
It's so beautiful.
I
mean, just you were in '60s, and it was right when the cultural was changing from, because it really was half '50s, half '60s. That was a contrast to the movie where Rick Dalton,
Yes.
which is their '50s, and the '60s, which obviously is both the Mansons, but just the overall vibe. And you could see, and it's right when the world, in some people's minds, went to shit, and other people's minds said, this is a great release. And it's also in like the golden age of Hollywood.
Yeah.
So many great '60s and '70s movies. This is right at that transition point. And so he really captured that contrast well. Obviously, typical Tarantino fashion, flamethrowers, killing Charlie Manson, all that. But I mean, he really captured that social conflict, artistic, cultural conflict really well, and it's beautifully captured the time. So I probably went back to the theater like 3 times just to see that. Just a great movie.
One of my favorite Tarantino quotes, or like one of my favorite things that he talked about, was this in a different movie. This is in Inglourious, which I know you didn't say. You said you didn't like as much. I liked it quite a bit, but that plot is obviously centered around Nazi Germany. You mentioned the Manson farm, how he has to deal with that. He talked about like, because obviously making a movie about Nazis, you got to talk about Hitler.
Yeah.
And he was sitting there in the writer's room, and he's like, dude, what the fuck do we do about Hitler? Like something, like what do we do? And someone was just like, can we kill Hitler? And they were like, yeah, shit, let's kill Hitler. And so that was like how he decided to get rid of him. But like it's interesting that he like weaves in those little.
Oh yeah, no, he's brilliant. And those movies, like I said, I don't hate them.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't hit me
as hard
at the same level as Reservoir Dogs. Pulp Fiction, which is, like I said, just such a brilliant movie. The different narratives, the dialogue, the whole scene where Sam Jackson, with the gun, with the 3 kids who he shoots up in the room.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's just, you didn't see dialogue. It didn't exist. You couldn't even comprehend it. And it didn't come in with like a lot of fanfare. If you were like in your late teens, I was in my early 20s, and you're watching this scene, you're just like, holy shit.
Yeah.
This is like so cool. And then you, like, I would say 90% of the people my age went back and saw Reservoir Dogs after Pulp Fiction.
Really?
That wasn't a big hit. And then we're like, holy shit. And all that. And I remember there's actually a letdown in Jackie Brown because it was more of a low-key, mature movie.
Wow.
And I disagree. It was a beautifully shot movie. But he really changed, for better and for worse, you could argue whatever, the way dialogue is written, characters are written. He brought Hollywood into a different era. He really did. And it was incredible. So I'll give him his due. I don't know if he's my favorite director, even though there are movies on there. Because Coen Brothers, right there. We got Fargo.
Yeah.
And like Coen Brothers, they have the serious movies, they have their comedies, they have their absurdist comedies and all that.
I will say, going from some of these bigger ones, Dumb and Dumber.
Yeah.
Also on the list.
Yep. Dumb and Dumber. Just sometimes you don't want nutrition.
Exactly.
Okay? Sometimes you just want a beer.
Yeah.
Sometimes you want gummy bears and all that. And Dumb and Dumber, I don't want my comedy complicated. Just lean into the absurdity and stupidity of it.
Yeah.
I wanted that band so bad.
What's
the
it?
Dog
yeah,
Band.
Dog Band.
That's just such a stupid. There's nothing like. It's brilliant in how stupid it is, but it's just an absolute fun movie. And those are the type of movies. There's a bunch of them. I think I have Superbad on there.
Yes, you do have Superbad in your own.
Superbad. There's nothing. Brilliant. You know, it doesn't have a message or anything like that.
No,
it's just lean into the stupid fun and all that. Because you know what? You gotta have stupid fun. And like I would say, Dumb and Dumber would be reflective of the time's culture. You know, what I mean, just silly, but there's nothing mean spirited about it. Just absolutely dumbest bullshit movie ever.
Yeah, that was probably one of the first comedy movies that I feel like shaped me. Like I remember watching that and being like, "This is the funniest shit I've ever seen."
Yep, it's so good. Yeah. Oh wow. Also, you got Goodfellas on here too. Goodfellas is probably one of my top 3.
Goodfellas.
Goodfellas is awesome.
Goodfellas is amazing.
Now, Goodfellas or Godfather?
Ooh, Goodfellas. If I had 2 Goodfellas.
I'm a Goodfellas guy too.
Scorsese, can't go wrong. I'm not a huge Scorsese guy, but great movie. Godfather, though, just the scope of it. It's so beautiful.
It is.
Generational. Michael, the arc of turn from the innocent kid out of the army to just the face of evil at the end. And you can understand why he's doing it.
Yeah.
I'm not saying justifying it, but you get it.
That's
the
best
scene.
scene.
If I were Michael, I could see me turning into this evil motherfucker, because you want to know what? That's how you had to win in the world he lived in. So, you know, I'm not one who gets into like, oh, it's a critique of modern capitalism, blah 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 blah. You know, I failed all my comp lit classes. So, but that said, you know, it does tell that tale in that movie, and it's so well acted. So I would say Godfather, but Godfather, Goodfellas are like the bookends of that era, the great mob movies, because there's been a million of them and all that. And each one of them, and then Godfather 2, you could actually argue. I think Godfather 1 is just so much more beautiful than Godfather 2. So that's just my opinion.
You said something about your comp lit classes when you when you were here. What other stuff did you do here while you were a student?
I was a political science major.
Oh.
I probably ended up getting.
How is that?
Yeah, probably passed about 3 or 4 classes. Failed a lot of them. They let me retake them. What did I do when I was at BU? I bartended a lot. I was townie, so I actually lived at home for the first 2 years. Apartment for the next 2 years plus. So I played rugby.
Oh,
yeah, so I was a rugby player, BU rugby. Bartended a lot, and it was weird living a double life, so to speak, in that I'm local. I had my local friends, my local life at BU, and it's weird how they just never mixed back then. I probably would maybe a little bit more now. So I was like, okay, now I'm BU, but then the moment school's out, I go back to being local and all that. So, but overall, I never really was the academically invested type. I don't know why. Yeah, I don't really have regrets for it. You know, I got a brother. He's a professor up at Bates College.
Oh, really?
No, so he's the academic-minded guy.
Yeah.
And I'm happy for him. I'm proud of him. Proud as hell. But at the same time, like, that wasn't a path. I don't look at that pathway and be like, if I'd only studied a little bit harder. No, that just wasn't for me. And so yeah, I enjoyed the bar business, both sides of the bar. Yep. I should drink my fair share.
No, that's awesome. Yep. It's crazy hearing about your time at Binghamton, just how like different it was. Current Binghamton would never have a bar on campus.
No. Yeah. It was already in the decline. The Binghamton, you got to remember, it was mid '80s, and this is before my time. 18 could drink.
It has.
It was 86. They changed it, and there was a bar. It's a bubble tea place. Like, you know where the Denny's is?
Yes, I do.
Right next door, in that like plaza. That was gigantic bar.
Yeah.
That was bigger than all the bars in downtown.
Really?
Wow. Huge. Okay, the building was one. It was called the OP. And between that and the campus pub were like the highlight of the social life, because if you were 18, which is 75% of the dorms, you would just roll down the hill and get hammered. Plus, they were a lot more. They didn't give a shit as much about that. And then once the early '90s came and I was there, it pretty much fully gravitated to the west side. Downtown was the bar scene, and the campus pub was more of a holdover. So it really, during the day for lunch, drinking beers, which is a really poor idea if you want to be a good student. I'll play a game of pool, one more pitcher. Next thing you know, you skipped your 105, you skipped your 10, and all that. Then you show up to rugby practice drunk, but nobody cared because half the rugby team was drinking with me. So it wasn't great for students. And that's when it changed to the west side. And when I went to school, it was actually house party driven, the west side of Binghamton.
Really?
And like, if you were a frat or the rugby team, you would get 50 kegs.
Oh my.
And
50 kegs?
Oh yeah, it was just massive. The beer distillers would drive up with them, and you'd have 1,000 people in the lawn, in the street. Nobody gave a shit. And you'd walk from party to party. Wow. So all the west side was dominated by student housing, and it was just one big party. And that's why when I got in the bar business, it was right when the city said enough of this shit.
Yeah.
Sometimes with good reason. It was mostly harmless, but you know. And so when I opened the college bar, or started running the college bar, I was brilliant because I could not fail, because all of a sudden there's thousands of college students, and we were a lot dumber, drank a lot more than you guys ever did. Trust me on that.
Wow.
And they're looking for a home, and I was like, come to the bar. And so there I was, and it was fun, and I was successful. I was also young and dumb and all that other stuff. And like I said, I did that back and forth. And by the time, like 20 years ago, it became definitely more of the reflection of the modern market. Again, you guys are smarter, more focused. Screw you all. Just drink more. 2.3 GPA is fine. Okay. But I'm stuck. But I don't mind that. Like, I always like to bitch and moan to my staff on a slow Tuesday or something. I'll be like, I'm moving my bar to Cortland. those dumb fuckers are going to drink 7 days a week. It's probably true. But the truth is, I wouldn't. I like the BU student because you are smart.
Yeah.
And yes, I'm actually not in the business of getting you hammered. Okay, I don't want all your money on a given night. Go have a few drinks, get a little bit on there and all that. But so it's not. I'm not running a bar like the classic people think of college bar where everybody's just getting freaking hammered and puking on the floor. And all that. I prefer not. I prefer having fun, but not too much. And BU students are really good at that.
Yeah.
More importantly, BU students don't try to kill each other every time they get a little drunk, like some other colleges might. Oh. So, no, I guess so. Even though I do tell my staff, I moved my bar to Cortland. And actually, nothing against Cortland people.
Yeah, we see.
Yeah. But like I said, the BU market is my home. Been for 30 years.
Yeah.
I'm former BU market, and there's literally no other place I could be, let alone want to be.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just I relate to you guys, and again, I don't relate to you guys as your peer. I don't pretend to be, but just from an old to a young, I enjoy the dynamic. I enjoy my staff. I enjoy the crowd. So.
Yeah.
As you should. And I think the crowd. You know what? The crowd enjoys it too.
The crowd.
I think so. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I'm always mindful of how am I in touch with you? And again, not relating like most, but what is the zeitgeist or whatever? I don't know if I use that word correctly, but
Yeah.
Close enough.
But what is the mood and how is it changing? Because it's always subtly shifting and all that.
Yeah.
And I'm never going to be perfect at it. But on the other hand, interrelated, I'm actually quite conservative in terms of I don't want you getting hammered to the point. Your safety is the first and foremost, particularly with women. You guys can go out to a bar and get goddamn hammered, and the worst consequence is you might puke on yourself. Women have always got it. The threat of sexual violence is always there.
Yeah.
And they've always got to keep their guard up. So that, first and foremost, is why can't women go out and act like idiots too without fearing of that bullshit?
Exactly.
And that's why I'm very, very mindful in how I promote stuff, in the music, and the staffing, and my bouncers. In that, obviously, it's not about fairness and all that. It's just I'm always very mindful.
Something to be. You got to be aware.
Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly.
And so we do keep an eye out. Like if a guy is standing solo at the end of the bar, I don't worry about where his friends are. If I see a woman alone or the bouncer see it, we will keep an eye out on that shit. And you just got to do it. And that's, mind you, I mean, Tom's crowd, the men, I have a lot of confidence and faith in them, but I'm also a realist. Yeah. It's always there. And so, in that regard, I'm more conservative, but in terms of culture, tastes, and all that other stuff, I try to keep up, even if I might not relate to you on the exact level, which reflects in my movies. Most of the movies are before you were born.
Yeah,
it's true.
That's very true.
Do you think you had? Obviously, here you can see like '90s was your favorite.
Yeah.
I think that's good. I think that's true for everybody. Just as you're becoming an adult and you're getting a little more set in, this is the person I am, the tastes I have. Those movies that hit you right then and there are the ones that, that's, when you're a kid, you like kid stuff, and you revisit them. But the ones that really, like, you're going to carry forever, I do think now, Interstellar, on the other hand, is much later. But in terms of, like, Pulp Fiction, Last of the Mohicans, Fargo, Nobody's Fool, I have no idea why I love that movie so much. It's a movie about an old guy. I should love it now. It's about an old guy who lived in Saratoga Spa. Failure of life, but he finally finds purpose in his 50s. So that's something which should hit home now. But for some reason, they're always on.
For some reason, way back then, you're like, I can see myself in this.
Yeah, great book too. But it's True Romance, Dumb and Dumber, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, another movie I've older. But it's just that's the most intelligent movie ever written. Yeah, it really is. Just in terms of the complexity of the plot and how they actually make it work. Yeah, and it's such a high concept movie that it shouldn't work, and it does. And I fucking hate Jim Carrey, to be honest with you. Really? But he's perfect in this movie. I like Jim Carrey funny. Jim Carrey trying to do serious, he's trying to.
You don't like Truman Show?
I hate Truman Show with a
passion. Truman.
In fact, there are a few things. Now I'm upset.
Oh, come on. We're not
trying to make you cry. There are a few things I judge about other people, about their tastes. If you like the Truman Show, I kind of am judging you.
Wow.
I'm taking a little lesson here. I'm not
I'm
saying
never gonna
you're
get into
assholes.
Are we
I'm saying the
fans?
possibility has now entered the chat. That's all I'm saying.
What?
You moved into questionable. So now you're a nice
Can
guy.
we kick it from the chat?
It's so superficial and broad and
It's
in
not
your
super-
fucking
Are we
face.
fans from Tom's now?
Yes.
Oh!
Yes. Out.
It's not worth
Oh.
it.
Yeah.
Oh,
Turtle
God
Show
damn.
fans, go to the Rat. Okay, I hear that's
Oh!
no, Rat's a
It's
bar.
so much
That's
worse.
not a criticism. No, he mugs too much. What's the Andy Kaufman movie?
Andy Kaufman movie.
He has a movie where he plays Andy Kaufman, and he tries so goddamn hard. He wanted to be the next Tom Hanks. Tom Hanks,
He's all
80s
perfect.
comedies. 80s comedies, he was awesome at, and then he slipped into the serious roles, and it was so natural. And what did he win? He won Philadelphia. He won like 3 Oscars for acting, like in 6 years, if I recall.
Yeah.
And he was so effortless at it. And now every comedian wanted to be that way. Bill Murray tried it, failed.
True.
He tried it again later, but early on. And Jim Carrey wanted an Oscar so bad, and he tried so hard to get one, and I hated him for it, and I still do, except for Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
And the movie too is Man on the Moon, 19 and
Yes. Okay.
yes, yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. And what's the name of the? Oh shit, I can't remember the screenwriter. Brilliant screenwriter. He has adaptation with I think that was Nick Cage. He's just really complex, dense plots, high concept plots, and he crushes them. I can't remember.
I'm bad with
I can't believe you're not a Jim Carrey fan.
Oh,
Come on.
he's just no.
Sometimes he's
it's comedy.
You like Dumb and Dumber.
Pet Detective is brilliant.
That's what I'm saying.
Yes,
Pet Detective.
Yeah.
absolutely. Dumb and
Dumb
Dumber.
and Dumber.
Um,
Ace Ventura is a G.
yes,
He's
absolutely,
Ventura.
absolutely.
Yeah.
As a comedian, he used to be on the show in Living Color. Awesome.
Oh yeah.
But his I Want an Oscar attempts is cringe to me.
That's
And Truman Show was peak Jim Carrey cringe to me. Yes.
I'm shocked.
I hate that movie. They had 2 of them. The other one, exact same concept of a guy living in a bubble that's all, and it was actually, before now that's become the norm, had Matthew McConaughey.
Wow.
It was Ed TV or something like that.
And TV.
Yeah, forgotten movie and all. It was actually halfway decent.
Yeah.
Yes. I love Matthew McConaughey.
Oh, he's awesome.
Absolutely.
Yeah, he's great.
Absolutely.
You got a favorite actor when we're on the topic?
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, I love Matthew McConaughey, but digging deeper, I mean, Daniel Day-Lewis is a guy you appreciate.
Yeah,
You don't
for sure.
love him.
Yeah.
For sure.
Um,
You put a lot of Stallone on there.
You did put
no, but Stallone, ironically.
Ironically.
As a kid, I loved him,
Yeah.
but now, no, he's terrible. But at the same time, I still love it.
Mhm.
Same with Arnie.
Yeah.
Arnie's 80s movies, he was terrible.
Mhm.
Terminator.
I got some of
Terminator,
those I love for
so-
cheesy reasons. I always loved Bill Murray, but because he's kind of
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't know if I have a specific favorite. Oh, you want to know? Just Leonardo DiCaprio.
Yeah, that's a great pick.
Yeah, even when he misses, you respect his misses. Like J. Edgar's
Titanic.
fucking terrible. Titanic is, I mean, that's such an iconic movie.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying I hate it or love it, but there's a women of certain age, which is basically my age to like 40, who talk about an imprint on their mind.
Yeah.
I mean, there's probably
Yeah,
few
yeah.
movies that took over pop culture
Like
more than Titanic did for a long time, and he was fine in it.
Yeah.
But once he became like a bankable A-list actor, he always makes great choices, even when he misses.
Yeah.
Aviator, absolutely love that movie,
Mhm.
which is Scorsese.
Yeah.
I mean, it's unheralded. Wolf of Wall Street.
Phenomenal.
Talk about a movie that
Incredible.
blew me away. I thought I was just going to go into like Casino or Goodfellas of Wall Street.
Me too.
And instead, it's just most over-the-top, dark comedy.
Yeah.
Blackest of black comedy is awesome.
I had no idea what
they're-
Wolf of Wall Street was going to be.
Yeah, they're absolutely
Blew my mind.
horrible people.
Yeah.
But it's I mean, it's straight up comedy without
Oh, yeah.
question and all that.
100%.
And it's not even satire. It's just wow. And
You're laughing. It gets to a point where
Yeah.
you're doing all this horrible stuff.
Oh,
and
yeah,
you're just
absolutely.
Like, oh, that's one of the guys.
that's what I mean. Yeah, they're just
Just one of the
horrible.
boys.
And Leo just absolutely crushed it.
Yeah.
And Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, absolutely crushed it. So again, I don't say I love all of his movies, but Shutter Island crushed it.
Yeah.
But I just love the fact that he makes good choices.
He really does.
And
He's a phenomenal actor.
outside of him dating 21-year-olds,
All right,
but
well-
we don't separate the art from the artist.
Yeah, he's got his faults.
Yeah.
No man is perfect.
Yeah. Look at Seinfeld.
Yeah.
He's so
1738.
1738.
Come on.
Yep.
He's such an okay comedian. He's
Jerry
Seinfeld
I like
was
Seinfeld.
I think he's alright.
Cutting Edge. That show was awesome.
That
In the '90s, that you guys are a little spoiled in terms of the quality of TV because of the streaming era. There's so much good content out there.
Yeah.
We're still talking. We're not like Gilligan's Island crap, but the
You
level
like
of comedy. Well, I mean, it is what it is. But the level of comedy in the '90s wasn't that sophisticated, and there is a sophistication about Seinfeld, and that was great. And the fact that they didn't even pretend to be redeemable.
Yeah.
They're just self-absorbed assholes.
Yeah.
So it's great. A little bit dated.
Yeah.
Like even I watch it, and I lived in that date, and I'm like, I don't want to necessarily go back to that. But there is a brilliance to it. But same time, Seinfeld is a one-trick pony. And there's a reason why he's really never done anything since that has value. I think he did B-movie or some bullshit.
Yeah.
Come on, that's a masterpiece of art.
Yeah.
See, I don't have children, so I
B-movie.
can't comment on the animated movies and all that.
That's fair. Yeah.
But I mean,
Yeah,
I
so
went back and watched Seinfeld, and it was on streaming. It's just one of those shows that you can just play and then.
Oh yeah, without doubt,
play.
without question. And it's so much superior to Friends.
Oh,
really is.
infinitely superior.
Yes.
to Friends.
That's like kind of a signifier of like ask your parents, did you like Seinfeld or Friends better? And if I'm gonna
If
tell
they
you
say
this right now,
Friends, I'm going
they
with
say
that.
Friends, your parents are assholes.
They go to the
They
rat.
really are. They're shallow,
Yeah.
superficial people.
Mhm.
Get out of the house now.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
No, Friends is
Run and send
Friends
them
is
to the
harmless
rat
fluff.
together.
There's nothing against Friends,
Mhm.
but there's really no meat to the bone in terms of the humor. I actually kind of say the same, and this is actually where it sounds kind of old. Office.
Office? You don't like? Really?
I tried.
That's
It's good.
fair.
It's
I like it.
I don't think
It's
it's supposed to be down the bone.
charming, you know what I mean?
Charming.
Sometimes a lot
Yeah.
of what it needs to be a comedy. Sometimes it's just charming. You know
I'm a
what I mean?
fan of The Office.
No. Oh, good lord! I'm stepping on a live wire. Even your generation
Yeah.
loves The Office.
Oh, they
Oh,
love
yeah,
The
Yeah.
Office.
So when I make cracks in trivia, I'll make an Office crack. I piss people off.
You
Say
should
something
see
good. Yeah.
when COVID hit. You think anyone had anything better to do than watch all The Office?
Yep.
That's what every single
Yeah.
person.
Yeah. I think
That's what
every
I do.
21-year-old discovered Office and Sopranos.
Yes.
Yeah.
They rewatched. Yeah.
Sopranos is. You can't knock something.
I watched Sopranos many times.
It's
Great.
black. So good.
Middle-aged
Mhm.
guy. I gotta like The Wire. It's like engraved in us. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's gotta
Yeah.
every.
There's something.
Ask your
about
dad.
it.
Oh, I love it.
I feel like the young generation, The Wire,
Makes
is
us
Breaking
feel.
Bad.
Oh,
Breaking Bad, awesome show. Mad Men probably was about 2 seasons too long,
Yeah.
but still. So there were the classics. The problem is now there's too much good shit.
they're
Yeah.
It's paralysis.
How do you watch all of it? You
I
can't.
can't. And do you want to know what? Because there's so many choices and I can't decide, I'll watch fucking season 4 of Breaking Bad again.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm like, I know I'm missing out. And I really need like a personal assistant to force me to watch. So I'll give him like a list of shows. Don't let me watch Last Mohicans for the 110th time. Make me watch that goddamn movie. Because I know once I start watching it, I'll enjoy it.
Mhm.
And that's the problem with the streaming here, is that it's too easy just to fall into your comfort zone.
That's
It's
so.
definitely something I do.
That's so. Yeah, that's true. But I got a question for you though. We gotta wrap it up soon though. So you and the other bars, are you guys like friends? You guys like hang out like the other bar owners?
It's an interesting dynamic. And I mean, obviously, market share matters.
Mhm.
Yes.
But our competition is not necessarily each other.
Okay.
It's just trying to get the person to buy into the bar
Yeah.
culture itself.
Mhm.
And the more people are into the bar culture, the more the bars, because most people don't just go to one bar.
Yeah.
Like I always tell customers, I don't want all your money, I just want most of it.
Mhm.
Okay? And so there are some bars that get hostile. Oh, you go to that bar fucking sucks. I'm like, no, don't make a customer make that choice, because they're going to go to the place that doesn't give a shit about it.
Yeah.
So we get along great. There are a few of them I don't get along with. I'm not going to specify, but it's none of your favorites. Drew and Chrissy on the Rat and Jimmy's.
Mhm.
They actually were students here when I
Oh, they
was.
were all
Yeah,
studs.
they're about
Oh wow.
6-7 years. So when I was running the bar second time or whatever, I got to know them, and then they took over at an early age. The Grove guys get along great with them. You got all the new Washington Street places, so it's great. And then you got Red Jug. My only complaint about Red Jug is I wish it was closer, because again,
Yeah.
back and forth, back and forth.
That's
If you go to
true,
Tom
yeah.
and Marty's, it's 11:30, and your line's down to fucking DP though.
Mhm.
Okay? You're not going to wait, so you're going to go to another bar. I want you to come back later. But if you make the jug choice, you might not come back. So I do wish everything was a little more confined space-wise. But in terms of, and we each got our own distinct cultures.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to sit there and say the only smart way to run a bar is the Tom's way. There's plenty of different ways.
Mhm.
Like, without doubt, Jimmy's is more value dance, craziness, and all that. Where we are a bar with dance.
Yeah.
Other places are strict tavern, and so I always like to be we're a bar with the dance stuff in the back, but I'm not going to be getting into like EDM or club scene. And a lot of people like request songs. I'm like, it's not a bad song. It just doesn't
Fit your culture.
fit. So so sorry. It's not because I'm judging that song to be stupid. It just doesn't fit because we're pop oriented. We're like I said, dance, but light dance. If you're serious about dance, you're probably not gonna like Tom's.
Yeah.
Okay. If you like dancing but seeing people, having a conversation, go to the bar, have shots, and all, that's kind of what we do. So yes, we fit. I'm confident enough in my culture where I don't feel the need to chase after something different. Let them try to find their way around me. It helps that I'm not terribly big. And I like the culture of the bars downtown.
Yeah.
But yeah, so all in all, we get along except for a couple owners, and I'm not going to get into that.
That's
Well,
yeah, exactly.
Larry, thank you so much.
I know, guys, I could talk for 12 hours, so I'm sorry if I dominated.
Anything you want to plug right now? The bar, your Instagram,
now, actually,
whatever.
here, listen, if you're a senior,
Senior.
you still have time to not graduate. Okay? Drop the class, fail something. Because the real world is a dark and stormy place.
Exactly.
You don't want to go there yet.
Yep.
Listen to the man. Quit. Thank you for watching.
Thank you so much. And another round of applause for Larry.
Hey, guys.
Thank you so much.